thought I'd share my own red pill walk away moment. And I really can't call it a walk away moment because I never really considered myself or knew what it meant to be Democrat or Republican. Um, I, like most black people, just said I was Democrat because that's what we traditionally called ourselves just out of habit. It was like it was passed down to us from generation and community to accept because that's how it's been set up. Excuse me. So that's pretty much how I thought. I, regardless of my own beliefs, my Christian beliefs and backgrounds and things that, excuse me, viewpoints that I had, I still saw myself as a Democrat. And to be honest, for pretty much half of my life, I didn't know what it meant to be Democrat or Republican. I really didn't know much about Republicans at all. Only what I was told, um, basically how TV portrayed Republicans. That was the extent of what I knew about Republicans. I didn't know any Republicans personally. I didn't have any friends that was Republican. I didn't have any family members that were Republican, at least none that I knew of. So I never knew what it meant to be conservative. And I definitely didn't know the difference between um, conservative, liberal, Republican, Democrat. I just knew because I'm black that I'm Democrat and that Republicans are racist, have a history of racism, and they're for the rich. They pass laws that aren't in the best interests of middle class and poor. They're only for the rich and the wealthy. And this was my understanding of the Republican Party, based on what I've seen on TV and things that I've been told by teachers in school. This is the extent of my understanding. Like most people in America, most black people in America, or people period in America, this is the this is what we're taught in schools, and it's like I said, our community, our culture passed down this thought and ideology. So for me, when I finally got a view of a Republican, when I first met somebody that was a Republican, and I had no idea this person was a Republican, um, it kind of blew my mind. And it also kind of upset me at the same time. I'll get into that more when I speak on who the person was that was a Republican and how they introduced me to conservatism. So basically, it was 2006, like mid 2006. I remember Obama was just starting to basically make rumblings of entering the um, 2008 presidential election. He was starting to throw his hat in officially. I don't think he officially did it yet. There was a lot of rumors that he might do it, and I remember everybody being excited, saying, "Oh, he should." I remember Oprah urging him, saying he should, and all of this, and everybody was so excited. And even though I wasn't even a Republican yet, I wasn't really all that excited. It was something about Obama that seemed fake to me. He didn't seem like a real genuine person. I don't know what it was about him. I didn't know much about him. I hadn't really heard much of him before, but it was a feeling and an aura I got from him, seeing him on TV, seeing him speak. He seemed really, um, he didn't seem very genuine. I know that seems strange because a lot of people speak about him very favorably, being charismatic, very welcoming, very charming, and stuff like that. And he may be, but outside of that, it was something about him that made him seem really. I can't quite put my finger on it. So, like I said, it was around this time, 2006. I'm at work. I don't work there anymore, so I can say where it was. It was basically a subsidiary of Ford. I worked in one of the manufacturing plants here in Chicago, on the assembly line, making the IPs for three model cars back then. So one of the guys I worked with, uh, he was um, he was a little skinny Mexican guy. We were all cool with him. He worked in our area. We used to joke around a lot, and you know, back then I was let's see, 2006. I was 26, going on 27. Yeah. So we were at work joking around, and I forget exactly what we were talking about, but politics happened to come up, and he mentioned that. Oh yeah, somebody mentioned something about um, who they were voting for, and the guy. I'm gonna call him by the nickname that he had. I'm not gonna use his real name. I'm gonna use the nickname that we had for him back then. His name was Lil Homie. um, I remember Lil Homie saying he was voting for. He said he voted for Bush the last two elections, and we all looked at him and was like, "You voted for Bush? What the heck?" He was like, "Yeah, I voted for Bush." He said he was Republican, and let me make this clear: Lil Homie, if you look at him, he doesn't look like what you would think a Republican will look like. He's a little short. He wasn't like too short. He was like real. He was, average size. I'm saying short for me because I'm 6'2", and he was like, maybe 5'9", something like that. But he was real skinny, small guy. He used to wear his little bandana on his head and stuff at work. But he did it like he would wear it on his neck, but he did it to like cover up some type of skin condition he had. And it wasn't like he was gang banging at work because he wasn't like that at all. Um, but his appearance told a different story than his actual personality. So now I'm trailing off. So basically, Lil Homie was telling us that he voted for Bush twice in the past two elections, and we were like, and myself, the other three co-workers, black, three other black people, one female, me male, and another guy. Oh, and it was Lil Homie. So basically, black female, another Mexican guy, and Lil Homie was Mexican, and me and myself. And oh, and the female was black. So we're all wondering, like, dude, what are you talking about? You voted for Bush both times, like, we're all like, you do know that he's not a president that is for minorities. He's this white Republican that basically, like all Republicans, are racist. The only pass laws and legislation that is favorable to other white people, rich people, and like pe- people alike. They're not for people like myself. And so basically, Lil Homie, he was prepared. He didn't flinch at all. He was pretty much like, no, that's not true at all. And he went into the history of the Republican Party, how the Republican Party's foundings wasn't the Republican founding was more for the liberation of black people, and it was founded by black people with other white people for the liberation of black people. And he went into a whole lot of information. I can't even like remember everything. Um, but we were all like, dude, what are you talking about? That sounds ridiculous. You don't know what you're talking about. He's like, no, actually, you don't know what you're talking about because, he went into saying, his parents were also Republican, and he recommended a radio station for us to check out and listen to, and a couple personalities on the radio station for us to listen to. He was like, check these people out, do your own research. And my personality is like, I'm going to prove this guy wrong. I'm going to go do as much research as possible, and I'm going to come back to work the next day, and I'm going to show him he don't know what he's talking about. He's saying that Democrats were the real oppressive party, that they were the ones that were slave owners. They were the slave owners in the South. They were the ones that pushed a lot of, not a lot of, all um, the segregation laws and all the laws that were oppressive to black people. He said it was actually Republicans that were on the opposing end during all of it. He explained, it wasn't until recent times that people looked at Republicans as the racists, as, you know, um, basically traitors to, um, not traitors, but basically only being on the side of rich white people. So, like I said, I wanted to prove him wrong because this sounded ridiculous. And me being a know-it-all, it was like, there was no way I was going to let him tell me about Black history and how, what I knew growing up, what I learned from TV, school, other media. You can't tell me different. So what I did was I went home, I went searching everything I could find online. I went looking up the history over and over and over. Everything that I looked up pretty much confirmed exactly what Lil Homie said. I actually couldn't believe it. He was 100% correct. And the messed up thing is, all of that information I spent a lot of time. Let's see, this was on a Friday. I spent that day after work over the weekend to Monday. And I even checked out the radio station that he mentioned. Um, the personality he was talking about, he wanted me to listen to, was Michael Medved. On back then it was 560 AM on WIND. That's what the station was called back then, right? Today it's called 560 AM The Answer. It was WIND back then. And I listened to Michael Medved, and what Michael Medved was saying blew my mind. But not right away. See, I listened to this station on my way home that day, that Friday after we had this talk with Lil Homie. On the way home, I listened to this station because the station started at like 2. We got off work at 2:30. So his station was the show was like 2 hours long. So by the time I got in the car and was listening, it was pretty much still the beginning of the show. It's only a half an hour in. So I'm listening to this Michael Medved, and he sounded crazy. But it piqued my interest because I'm like, I never heard anybody speak like this before. I didn't agree with them. I was gonna basically prove him wrong too. But like I said, when I went home and I went digging, you have to understand, like I said, I'm a know-it-all. So I dug like hard, like extensively looking for something to prove him wrong. And I couldn't find anything of substance. When I say of substance, the only things that I found that really, they didn't disagree, it didn't tell a different story, it just told like a really off version. And I was like, that don't really That's not good enough. I need something hardcore that's gonna like really prove. But I couldn't. And that's when it hit me. So after I looked that up, I looked up the definition of um, Republican and Democrat. And I don't know if you've ever looked up the definition of the political parties, Democrats and Republicans. But if you have, it doesn't really answer you the way you want it to. It's very vague. Then I looked up what's the difference between, well, no. What I got was Democrats are typically more liberal, Republicans are more conservative, with other things, words mixed in there to describe Democrats and Republicans. And basically, every time I looked up that definition, it seemed asked for the difference between Democrats and Republicans. I got these two words: liberal, conservative. So I was like, huh. So what is a liberal and what is a conservative? I looked that up. That definition really wasn't. It didn't help me much either, but I was asking the wrong questions, really. What I should have been asking and what I eventually did, well, I came across a video that posed it the way I should have been asking. And I should have been asking, what do each party believe? What is their ideology? And when I seen what the ideology of Democrats, liberals, leftists, that was the other thing I found out, that Democrats left wing, Republicans right wing. So when I looked up the ideology of Democrats versus Republicans, it kind of blew me away. You know, I sat back in my seat and I'm like, huh. The things that stuck out to me, few things I'll name right off the bat. It said Democrats, liberals are typically for more of a progressive, free thinking type of, and free as in do what makes you feel good type of thing. You're unrestricted in that way. That's what it means by liberal. It's not like liberal as in you're free, like free and black people liberating, not that type of liberal, more like a personal liberty, like do what makes you happy, do what makes you feel good, no matter if it's like immoral, no matter if it's awkward, weird, distasteful. Do what makes you happy. And the other thing was um, liberals, Democrats tend to be um, pro-abortion, pro-choice, as they like to call it. I don't like to use the term pro-choice because I think it's deceptive, and I'll get into that in another video about abortion, but I think that's deceptive. But um, they were pro-choice. Um, what was the other big thing? Basically, they support more government spending, um, typically for higher taxes, more government involvement in private property, stuff like that. Now, I didn't know much about that, but I did have a little bit of opinion and thought on it. And then on the other side of it, it was talking about how Republicans, conservatives, people on the right, were more conservative. Conservative meaning conservative old traditions, old basically ideas. And a lot of Democrats would like to say, yeah, racist ideas. Well, no, it's not that. It's more traditional American, not slavery, pro slavery type of ideals. It's more of your traditional nuclear family, more community based, conserving that aspect of it. So um, it was. saying Republicans are more uh, pro-life, typically tend to be almost 90% pro-life, um, and typically religious, typically Christian, um, also more for um, freedom from the government, having the government hands off of private property, private business, your personal life, letting the states basically cover a lot of the things on the lower level instead of having the federal government intervene, sweeping across the 50 states. The each individual state basically legislate mostly, and the federal government take care of the few things the federal government should take care of that we need them to take care of. Um, Basically, military, our national defense, um, things in that nature. They shouldn't be deciding like um, things as like schools, nothing like that. That's more state and local. So those are the few things that both parties stood for. It's a lot more things, but those are the things that stood out to me back then. And I was like, huh, well, based on what I see in these definitions, I guess I am a Republican, and I've always been. Um, and yeah, I do think that's the case. I've always been a Republican that was just told that I was a Democrat. I never believed any of the things, never had the same ideas and ideology that is typically Democrat. So when I say things like I was red pilled in 2006, I had my walkaway moment in 2006, that's actually not true. It's basically, I came to the realization that I'm a Republican in 2006. That's how I like to say it. So, as you can imagine, Monday when I went to work, I had no argument or rebuttal for Lahomie. Um, I told him the revelation that I had. I told him, I looked up, and here's the thing: I may be a know-it-all, I may be an admitted know-it-all, but when I'm wrong, when um, when I have no rebuttal, I'm not gonna pretend like and be like stubborn and pig-headed and say, oh, I still disagree. I couldn't find anything to oppose his argument. So I let him know. I said, you know what, you were right. I said, based on what I looked up, I couldn't find anything that basically said he was wrong. And we, talked back and forth, and we was like, we connected on a different level after that. Like we were already cool before, but it was like we connected on a different level. It's like we was both listening to Michael Medved, and I was brand new with it. And it was like I wanted to know and get my hands on as much information and much history as possible because it was mind blowing because I couldn't believe that we had been lied to and brainwashed our whole lives. Like it was things that was like obvious, right in our face, and brainwashed. And black people, Democrats, minorities, we like to always like talk about being brainwashed, like people being brainwashed and all this stuff. And we don't even realize how deeply we're brainwashed. And like it's such a it's such a mental and cultural conditioning that it's almost impossible for a lot of people to break out of that. For me, it wasn't that difficult. But for some people, they refuse to give up that notion that Democrats were the civil rights leaders and movement people. They were the modern civil rights actors that were Democrat. But here's the thing. Um, Not to get into too much detail on what I believe about the modern state of the civil rights movement and the actors, but what I've noticed is that the real ones, the real movement leaders in the civil rights movement are dead. The fake ones, still alive, got prominent positions in government, prominent positions in the community, and are living like fat rats. That's just my opinion. I'll make another video on that later because I think that's the biggest thing that really messed the black community up because we have people, and like I said, go into deeper detail later. I've seen when you look at like the real ones in history, and you can tell who the real ones were, they're not here anymore. Just let that sink in and look at the people we got left and the positions they hold. Look at those people. Like I got no respect for them, none. But like I said, that's a different video. This is my WalkAway video. So, like I said, me and homie, after that point, we was vibing on a lot of things. I was listening to Michael Medved every day, and um, starting to watch Barack Obama's campaign take off. Watching Obama's campaign take off and catch steam and him, gain in popularity and speak, and it looks scary because I seen so many people gravitate to this man, and he wasn't saying much of anything with substance. Now, I can say the Barack Obama that was campaigning was a far different person than the person that ended up in office, especially his second term. Far different beast. Because the Barack Obama that was campaigning, he spoke truth to the black community. To be perfectly honest, he was saying, this is what the black community needs to do. We need to basically work our butts off. We need to eat healthy. Don't be getting up. I remember this line. Shouldn't be eating. What did he say? Fried chicken or Popeyes? I think he might have said Popeyes for breakfast. We need to basically be accountable. That was Obama during the campaign. In office, he totally flipped to the more victimhood Obama, where black people can't help the way we are. We're victims of uh, systemic racism, victims of a system that has held us down and stacked up against us for us to fail. That was how he was talking. And um, I remember during the campaign and stuff, I felt kind of funny that I felt a certain way about not being able to vote for the first black president. But then I quickly got over it because that really don't mean much to me. But I couldn't, in good conscience, knowing what I knew, what I just found out, I couldn't vote for this man in good conscience. The only Democrat I ever voted for as an adult was Shoot, who was the person before um the Bush ran against his first term? Shoot, it'll come to me. But that's who I voted for back then. He didn't win, obviously. And after that, since then, I've been voting for Republican because obviously Bush was in office for his 2 terms, 8 years. And like I said, in 2006, I realized I was Republican. So, um, and there isn't going to be a conservative candidate that I would have voted for over a Republican. So I obviously the first time voted for John McCain and Palin over Obama, then Mitt Romney, and gosh, his name's on the tip of my tongue. I'm like having a serious brain fart today. But Mitt Romney and Ryan, shoot, but yeah, and it was like when those two candidates lost both times, it was like, man. But Obama was a powerhouse politician, and also you have a lot of white guilt. I believe more than black people putting electing him, it was a lot of white guilt that elected Obama. So nobody was going to beat him. So basically, that was my walkaway story. It wasn't. I don't think it's that much different from most people's experience being red pilled, but it was a little different seeing as how it came. The person that ta- kind of pulled me and made me realize that I was um, a Republican was another minority, Mexican, who both of his parents were also Republican. So you never know. Um, that's my walk away red pill story. Um, I just wanted to share that. I think, I know for me personally, I find people's walk away stories and their red pill moments, I find them interesting. And I wanted to tell mine. I've shared it before online. It was on a different channel that I was going to start a while ago. Um, so I thought I'd revise it, make another walk away story, and kind of share it with you guys since I've kind of going full in on this channel. So, um, as far as I can remember, I think really that was it. Those were like the key things that really made me kind of have an aha moment. And the biggest things that stood out to me, the two deciding factors for me was most conservatives are the conservative side, period, is more faith based. It's more tend to be more religious, tend to be more Christians. The other big thing was abortion. I never thought abortion was right. So, and then to see how history was pretty much retold and we were lied to, that was a huge thing. That like I was like, I can never, ever call myself a Democrat again. So here I am today, conservative and opinionated here on this channel. I'm Ty Rogers. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you love it, subscribe. If you want to see more, hit the bell to get notifications. And that's it. Peace.